Right, today we're going to make a tufted mattress. Now I've cached this one, but I just want to show you, if I just press play, the kind of thing that's happening. So it's going to use inflation, it's going to use balloon, but we need to set up this rig just so it will inflate in the places we want it to. So this is over a long period, this inflation, just so it happens more gradually and it looks better. So if I just pause it there and put on the subdivision, you'll see we're getting this really nice wrinkling effect and this really nice tufting pattern appearing. And then the more air we allow to go into this, obviously this will stretch out a bit more. So if I just keep the play button going while I talk. So yeah, we're going to be setting this up very soon. And it's very simple if you look over here, that we've only got a cube in a subdivision surface. There's not a lot going on here. We've got a cloth tag and connectors and vertex maps and things that I'm going to go through shortly, but really nice effect. I think you'll agree. The way we've got this extra material now appearing around the tufts and around the edges starts to give you this really nice feel for this plump, like mattress topper, tufted mattress, and we can decide the level of inflation and creasing to determine the type of mattress top you want. So you could have one that's a lot more like this, which is softer, or you could have one that's much tauter, which has a lot less creases in it. So let's go and have a go. So let's start with a completely new scene. Right, so what we do is we start with a cube, and a standard king size mattress in the UK is 150 by 200. Don't know what it is the rest of the world, but that's our size there. So if we type in 150, 200, and the height, let's bring it down to 1 centimeter, because this is going to be inflated afterwards, so we just want to like squash it right down. Right, now what we need to do is add some segments onto here which are going to marry up to the tufting pattern. So if we work from the top view, always makes it a lot easier. Now I've already pre-worked this out, looking at mattresses and seeing how the tufting pattern appears, so you don't have to. So in the X we're going to add 10 segments, and in the Z we're going to add 8 segments. Okay, so we get this. Let's just turn off this axis point here. So if you press Alt and D on the keyboard, we can just turn that off. Okay, so that is the tufting pattern. So what we need to do now is convert this and make it editable, right? Because we need the points. So we make it editable, and then we go to the point mode here. So what we're going to do, we're going to select where the tufts are going to appear. Now it looks like, where do they appear? So it's a bit of a pattern, so I'll talk you through that. Right, before we do this though, we need to go to the selection tool up here, and we need to uncheck visible only. Right, the reason for that is, if we just show you here, this has got thickness, right? So there are 2 points here. There's a top point and the bottom point. So if we don't uncheck that, it will only select the top point. So make sure you take the tick out of there. Right, so we're going to start this pattern. So we're going to start with this one at the bottom corner here, in from the sides, and we press shift, and we're going to select these as we go. So we select the first one, and then we miss one and select the next one. Same again, miss one, select the next one, miss one, like that. Okay, so you should have 5 points on the bottom line, which are even across there. You see, they start in the same place here. And then on the next line above, we're going to offset those. So we're going to start here, okay, in between the two. So keep your finger on shift still, and then select every other one again, and then you should have 4 points here. Now that's it, that's the pattern. So we now just need to repeat that up the mattress. So 5 like that, and then the next line in, we offset it and select 4, and then back to 5. Okay, and then back to 4, and then finally the last one, 5. Okay, so that's the pattern you should have. Now that is our tufts. We also want to select the perimeter edge of this, because when we inflate this, we want that to be held down as well. We don't want the sides to all puff up as well. We want to try and control the sides. So if we go to our tool here and go to loop selection, we should get this loop here that we see. And because we've got let's just check we've got that. See that visible only is unchecked. We should be able to select this with shift, and it adds that to the selection. So if we just come out of here and just have a look at the perspective model, and it looks like it's not selected those. Look, it didn't. Okay, that's fine. We can just do that now. So just underneath that, highlights all of these, press shift, and then grab all those as well. So we've grabbed the tufting pattern, and we've grabbed around the edge. I don't know why that didn't say on here that where we've got select both. I don't know why it didn't do that then, but it didn't do it, so you'd have to do it separately. But what we need is all of those selected and the edges selected top and bottom. Once we have that, we go to select and we go to store selection. Okay, we now get this little selection tag, this little point selection tag. Let's call that tufting, just so we know what that refers to. Okay, so we're now ready to add more subdivisions to this, because this isn't going to act like cloth because there's not enough subdivisions on here. That was simply those segments were so we could get our tufting pattern. So what we do is we go to polygon mode, and to be able to select all of these in one go, rather than like this, we go to select and then we go to Fong break selection. Okay, so where the Fong breaks on the edges, that's where it's going to give you this selection. So that works really well here. So we can select the top one, we can spin it over, and then select the bottom one. And now we've got that, we can go right click, subdivide. Let's go to the cog at the end, and let's add in 12 subdivisions there, just so we've got a lot denser polygon surface for the cloth to work on. Okay, now we've got that, we're going to add some cloth and some connectors so we can start to build this scene. Right, so we right click and we go simulation tag. Now we actually want to add cloth but also balloon, so we might as well just go straight to balloon here. Okay, and then right click, simulation tags, connector. Okay, so the connector, let's put this into line mode only, display lines, because I want to show you, let's just click off of that, go to point mode. Right, I want to show you now on the connectors where these little connectors are going to work. So what we do is we put our tufting pattern here in where it says point restriction. Okay, so we're going to restrict it to only look at grabbing these points. Okay, and then if we click on same object and we uncheck other objects, and then we click on live update, see, it's grabbed all of these points straight away, all the edges, all the tufting pattern. That if we look from above, it's all been mapped in exactly where we need it. So far so good. This is actually going to work really quickly. So now we have that, we go to our balloon tag, and let's go to surface. Let's add a little bit of bendiness in there, like 55, whatever. Just keep, you can experiment with that, how much bend you want. We need also to add a bit of target length, but I'll do that in a second. Let's just do the balloon first, and we're going to add a bit of pressure to this. We don't want it to be too inflated because we want to retain some of the crease in here. So let's try 10 over, say, 100 frames. Right, so let's just see what happens, right? Because let's add a few more frames in here. Let's put in like 300. This is a little bit of trial and error. We want to just see by pressing play what we get at this stage. What we get is it falling out of the scene because we've got the gravity switched on, and there's also another step we need to do. So let's just rewind that. On the balloon, we've got mix animation. We want to add 1 strength in the force. What that will do is keep it a lot more stable rather than it all kind of drift around in the scene too much. So let's try that. We may need to turn off gravity, or it may be fine to leave it like this. It's sinking a little bit. So let's go Control D, gravity, which is in the project settings, simulation scene there, and 0 that out. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, let's actually turn off these lines now. Let's go back to normal ground shading with lines. So now you can see that it's just got this slow inflation over 100 frames. So that's it. It's inflated it to that level. Okay. Now, if we want to add more inflation, you simply go back to the balloon and say, let's try 20 over 100 frames. Let's give that a go. Give it a little bit more air pumped into it. Okay, so these connectors are holding down, like real tufts would in real life, they're holding down these sections. So if I just go to the line mode again, let's have a look in here. If I click on connections, as you can see, look, they're like the threads, or I don't know, tapes, whatever they're called, that go through the mattress and hold it, so that they're acting very much like a real tuft would. The only problem we've got here is they're enlarging and stretching with it, because we've got this setting here where we've got stretchiness and target length. If we bring these down to zeros and then rewind and try again, it should try not to stretch them out too much. Okay, it'll try and pull them back a little bit more. Okay, now it's probably still stretching a bit, but we can't add it. Don't think we can have any less than that, so I think that'll be fine. Let's go back to our lines mode. So as you can see, it's starting to look like a tufted mattress. The only problem is with this is we don't have any creasing on it. It looks like a balloon with a load of holes in it, right? So how do we make it look a lot more like a mattress, a lot more creasing in here? Right, that is what I touched on earlier. We need to go back to balloon, back to surface, and we need to have a look at this target length. What that does is it adds, it's 100% at the moment material here. If we add anything onto here bigger than 100, that's going to add extra material into the length and the width. Okay, so if we say we put in 110%, 10% more material is now going to be found as it's inflating. So let's try that. So now you can see it's a lot more creased, and then it will blow the air in, but obviously as the air increases it will push out some of the creases. So if we just pause it there, you'll see we've got something that's looking okay, but we've now got these kind of tuft points left on their own here because it's managed to stretch out the cloth here where this thickness was. It's blown so much air into this area here that it's now pushed out the creases, and it's left the creases in the center where the air's not got to yet. Okay, so it's okay, but it's not maybe quite what a mattress looks like, you know, because it's blown it in different places. So we need to control the way it inflates, where the creases are going to be on here. Okay, at the moment it's just going across the whole thing, everything gets creased, and then air gets blown in and it pushes some of the creases out. So what we can do to control that is we can add a vertex map onto here. So if we right click on this polygon object, go to other tags and go to vertex map, it goes red. That anything red is inactive. Okay, and when it's yellow like that, it will be active. So what we're going to do, we're going to use something to control that, where the active part appears. So if we go on to the vertex map and we say use fields, let's take out freeze. We want something in here to control where we want this to have the creases. So if we drop in our tufting pattern like that, let's just go to the top view. As you can see, it's now used the tufting pattern to create these little yellow dots. Now that's not quite big enough. We want this to be a little bit bigger. Right, that's not going to be enough for the creasing. So if we go on the mode and from nearest we change that to max, you see now we've got an area that's going to appear around the tufts and also on the edges as well. Okay, so that, I mean, we can increase that, but that's not bad as it is. So let's just go back to our perspective mode. Let's click off of that. Now what we need to do to control that, because at the moment it will just carry on the same, it will just inflate it across the same, because we haven't told the cloth where to use that vertex map. So in target length, if you curl that down and furl that little arrow, you'll see there's a map, there's a place for a map. So that is where we add it. Put the vertex map in there, and then we can probably increase that to say 120%. We can put more creasing into the areas which are yellow. The yellow are the active areas of the vertex map. Okay, so it's not going to increase any, it's not going to add creasing into the red when we play this. It's only going to look at the yellow. So let's just leave it on that mode and see what it looks like. Okay, so as you can see, if we just pause that there, the red areas, look, are much smoother. They don't have all that creasing on them now. And here, look, where all of these yellow parts are, where the tufting pattern is, that is being affected by this increase in cloth. This cloth addition is being added in at 20% extra. And it's going exactly where those vertex maps from the tufting pattern are going. So as that starts to increase, now obviously if you put too much pressure in, it will blow the creasing. Okay, so you've got to do a balance here between the two. We've got to look at having more target length, so there's more material that doesn't get pushed out with the air, and also more bendiness in the material. Okay, so if we add, say, 555 in there, and let's add 150 in the target length, if we now play that, there'll be more bending, there'll be more material, as you can see, a lot more material, but that will then get to a point where when the air has gone in, you could leave it at a certain point and say, you know, we've still got the creases down here and we've still got the air being pumped in. Now we probably want a little bit more there, just so it starts to dome up, okay, like this. So that's got to its maximum point. Now if you want more creases here, and I think the creases are only appearing in the holes here, we could have a little bit more on the top here. If we go back to our vertex map, we could increase this area here just by adding more radius in there. So if we add more radius, look, so go 20, not 10, and then we go back and try that again, it will add it initially quite a lot, maybe too much, may have to go 15. Let's just see if that settles at all into a we want to see the tufting pattern. We don't want too much material where we don't see any of the tufts. So let's just see if we get that. It's probably, it's just a fine line between the two. So let's just go back and add, what did we say? We had 20. Let's go 15 on the vertex map radius. Let's see what we get. Let's turn that off of there. Let's watch this inflation. Okay, might be okay. We're getting some really nice pulling increase. There we go. Like, it's starting to leave some nice areas behind. Excuse me. And then obviously when we've got the look we're after, we can just throw this into a subdivision, so it smooths it out. But what I like to do is take it from 2 down to 1, because we've already got quite a lot of dense mesh on the cube. So if we do that, look, you start to see this really nice tufted areas and soft areas. So it looks like a really nice soft surface. If you keep the inflation going, or you add more inflation, obviously this will get more and more inflated, which is not really what you want for a mattress. You want it to look tufted and have these nice creases appearing around it, you know. And then we can add a border to this afterwards if you wanted this to look more like a conventional mattress, or you could leave it like this and use it as like a topper. But I think you agree, it gives you a really nice effect of a mattress. You know, you start to add some material onto this, like I did on my version here. Look, you can just grab some material from I think I used a checkerboard and then just had it only in the U frequency, look, just to give you stripes. Just threw that on it, and a bit of material on the reflectors. I used the cloth, the woven cloth there, look, just to give you this kind of cloth appearance. And then turn on the subdivision, and then it really starts to look like it could be a mattress topper, mattress, or even a duvet kind of style as well. So I hope you enjoy that. If you've got any questions, you know, if you want me to do anything more on this style, let me know in the comments below. And I'll speak to you really soon in the next video. My name is Mike Germans from Visual Animation. Take care. Goodbye for now.